going, ticking on and on. Everybody's rushing. Gotta get down to the bus
Wow.
stop.
Yep, there it is.
So apparently that's all the rage this week.
I think the idea of smelling your own breath interests me. And I don't know that it's that hard to do, though. Is it?
You just pull your shirt down and you go like this.
Right.
I do it often as a smoker.
I've seen people breathe it into their hand as if it was some sort of liquid, and then they
I've
sort
seen
of
I've seen
put it
people
back
do the
inside,
hand like that, so that's like it curls up and comes back to you.
like a high lie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Do you suppose there's a sport called low-a-lie?
What would it be? Like a really large soft ball that they move very slowly towards each other.
Mm-hmm. And you could
Low-lie.
do it laying down. I'm up for that.
Interesting.
I'd give that a try.
Well, I'd say it's only a matter of time before there's an iPhone app, where they have something in the microphone that
will
that
smell your
can
breath
smell
for
your
you.
breath for
Parts
you.
per million.
Yeah.
But that's not what you wanted to talk about, Anthony, although that was the part that I cued in on immediately.
I was really unprepared for that turn.
Yeah, you want to talk about the business behind the girl in this YouTube video.
Yeah, it's
First of all, has this thing gone viral? Is it big?
oh, this is big. This is the top trending topic on Twitter.
Wow.
No, it isn't.
It was on Friday.
What-
That's for darn sure.
Have we got Justin Bieber's response yet?
I don't know.
Has someone checked with that?
I don't know if
Has
anyone's
the
recovered
Biebs weighed in?
from Bieber fever to offer comment, but
So it's interesting. So
What did you call her? Not for comment?
offer comment, but I kind of put some ends.
Oh,
in ours.
offer comment. So what's this girl's name? Rebecca Schaefer?
Rebecca Black.
Rebecca Black.
The story, as I understand it, is Miss Black's parents went to this
Right.
recording studio. I believe it's called Arc Studios,
Mm-hmm.
and for a sum, they'll take your young person or maybe even yourself, and they'll
Why a young person? Why restrict yourself?
yeah, they could put your grandmother in these videos as well.
Right.
They'll create a music video, and just the interesting juxtaposition of like production values. I think it's interesting that actually
It has production values for sure.
It has some production
Yeah.
values. and
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
her strangely auto-tuned yet annoying voice, or
Well, it's not a very exciting melody, is it? It was pretty simple, but
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of music today is complex melodically.
I like the narrative theme of the song. Who's the guy that sings? Randy Newman. It's always a joke about
Right.
Randy Newman, like
What? That he sings about what is happening?
going to the bus stop. Gonna go to school now.
Ooh.
That's what I know. That's the worst Randy Newman impression.
ladies and
You
gentlemen.
need to have one of these videos.
I need to
Yeah,
get auto-tune.
You definitely need the auto-tune. We
and
can
a
do
piano.
that.
So this company's selling, their business model is you've got money, you've got a kid, you want, or whatever, you want to have a pro looking video.
I believe that is the case.
And so they do the sound and the video.
Sounds like something we should be getting
I was
into.
no, just exactly what I'm thinking. What are we waiting for?
Yeah.
Why are we sitting here?
Yeah, and the interesting part about this is even though because everyone's piled on it, and she was top trending on Twitter, say that 10 times. She's in the top 100 on iTunes for sales. There's
That's-
talks of a tour of the malls of
Yeah.
America.
I don't know how.
That's amazing.
What was the hook? What was the catch on? Like, where was it that it hit the news in some way? Did 4chan think it was funny and people are remixing it? Like, what happened that made it go
What
viral?
was got it over the hump and
Yeah,
turned it
yeah.
viral? That's a very good question. I wish I had the answer for you.
Wow, the fact that you don't is really hard for me to deal with. at
I
this
know.
Well, part of it is probably she's young. She's kind of
point. She must be cute.
cute.
Is she like, what, 15, 16, something
Probably,
like that?
yeah. And that's a big market right now for this kind of content. Kids, I think, are really getting into Twitter and Facebook, obviously, and all that kind of
I
stuff.
didn't think kids were Twittering. I didn't think, although I guess Bieber is always high up in
Well,
Twitter.
that's what I
so-
mean. Like, and Justin Bieber, I think, is actually a pioneer, if we can call him that. I was having a discussion with somebody this week about that phenomenon, like how that whole system of taking someone like Justin Bieber or Usher's another good example, where it's a manufactured commodity, and if you have the marketing engine and the marketing power, which a lot of the big labels and stuff still do, you can make someone a household name, and if it sticks, someone can have great success. The interesting thing about this is it looks like their only source of distribution was YouTube.
That's wild. It's, I guess the reason why it's technologically interesting is that every aspect of it is technological. She's not a strong singer. She's being, manipulated by technology through auto-tune, whatever. It's like home studio kind of vibe.
Yeah, and I think the
You
reason,
could do it yourself.
Yeah, part of the reason this went viral, I think, is that her singing voice is certainly, while worlds better than mine, rather grating even while auto-tuned. And I think just the fact that
Is it a bad? Can you just play a little clip again? Can we hear like partway through?
Sure.
Is there a chorus or something
Let's
that?
just bring it up here. Let's fast forward.
Let's take a quick check here.
I gotta get a little further in for you there, brother.
So,
Well, you're a producer, Randall. Analyze.
yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, she's got funny
is
way
it
of
nasally?
speaking.
Yeah.
And you know what it is? It's listen to the lyrics, right?
Silly lyrics.
It's what kids are thinking about, and it's totally aimed at.
Well, she also
14,
over
15,
enunciates.
16
Looking forward to the weekend.
You can't sing to the lyrics if you don't know what they are. You gotta.
I bet you something like this, it just starts as something funny, like, oh, I can relate to that, and then they pass it on to their friends, they pass it on to their friend, they pass it on to their friend, and next thing you know, it's viral.
Right. You know what else is? She's one of those singers. I think Anthony was getting at this. She's saying what's happening.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
She's
narrating.
She's saying exactly what they all can
Yeah.
relate to.
I
Here's
need
the
to write a
parties
song.
we go to.
Yeah.
Well, but she's literally narrating what's happening. Right. There's a unity here.
Yeah.
My good friend on my right side, or whatever.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah, but it's her enunciation that's odd. It's very unmusical, and she is a bit tuneless, and her variation, her melody isn't very dynamic, is it? Wow, that's not very good, Rebecca.
Wow. Well, good for her.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's the same thing. Like when people
Tour
say
and all
they
that.
hate Justin Bieber. When people say they hate Justin Bieber, I always say I could respect Justin Bieber, and you can respect her in a sense, not because she did anything great. Obviously, you could just pay a company to do.
Sure.
Look at this. Look what just happened.
It's like you're hugging.
This just came at me.
Oh, really? You just
It just came after me. Did you see that?
Going there.
It just went after me. Workman's comp on the podcast set.
Put in your claims.
How did you break your jaw, Mr. Lobb? I was the puffy part of the microphone.
Slammed into my face.
The kid with the glass jaw.
Yeah.
That's what they called me. The fact that you had to do this, that you had to step in and do that, do you think that my grip isn't strong enough to tighten that up? Is that what you're thinking?
I wasn't thinking.
You just didn't want to interrupt your flow.
I didn't actually realize you had tightened it.
I hadn't tightened or loosened or done
there you go.
anything.
So it's probably an overtime type thing.
It's just that I do move it around a little
You do.
more than
You're one of those
I'm a
animated
fiddler.
microphone fiddlers.
I'm a fiddler.
Yeah. There might be that. Maybe that could go viral, folks. Check out the FauxTech episode 3.
That time that
about
mic-
9 minutes in, it's going to go viral.
Unbelievable.
It's hilarious.
It just
actually hilarious.
Literally fell against my face.
Amazing.
If I was interviewed by a newsman, I would say, well, I was just sitting there talking about this video, and then like the mic, it just kind of fell against my face and didn't hurt. And then Mark tightened it.
Yeah.
We had a moment.
So that was good. That was a good moment.
It was a good moment.
But you're saying about Justin Bieber being kind of, I think you're.
I respect Bieber because Bieber has some talent, and he said, obviously at an early age, Mom, record me.
Yeah.
I'm going to be at the Avon Theater in Stratford. I'm going to be busking for people, and you're crazy if you don't put this up there. He was powered to do it through his own interest in technology, and this kid, she obviously is powered to do it through her own interest in technology, and so whatever happens.
Sure.
There are a million kids doing this that aren't getting anywhere, so she's the one that got lucky.
you know what, here's the part that's actually perpetuating her sales right now is guys like us talking about it.
I wouldn't say that we're perpetuating. I think it's people who are making fun of it in a sense.
That's what I mean.
It's the culture around it.
So it's like that in itself is giving it legs, right? So everybody's got to go check it out. Oh, that is funny. Oh, actually, I can relate to it. I'm going to buy it so I can show it to my friend, and we're can either laugh at it together, or we're gonna,
or the message is good.
I think the reason it went viral, if you were to plot it on a chart, it was like it's bad enough while being polished enough at the same time.
That's polish.
Right. That's hit that.
Yeah.
I think that's the reason it went.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the video's, half decently shot. I mean,
well, they spend money on it. Somebody did.
Sure. Somebody did spend some money on it.
Okay, so now that's business model of the day for us to use. All right, all we have to do, find some guy who has a flourishing business and a 15-year-old daughter with dreams of grandeur.
Well, I mean, this isn't anything new. I mean, it's been happening, forever before the internet was even.
I used to really enjoy the Mini Pops rendition of Eye of the Tiger. I love that. Play Eye of the Tiger again, said 6-year-old me.
Backstreet Boys, New Kids on the Block, Britney Spears.
I was
the list
26
goes on
when this discussion was happening.
The difference is this, though, and this is where technology comes into play. The difference is those bands needed. Those groups like Britney Spears or Take It Back
needed some talent.
They didn't need talent. They needed to be able to afford the studios that could make them sound good.
You can homebrew up some of this.
And what I'm saying is the technology today, you don't need to. She might have spent $10,000 instead of $100,000.
Well, what this is analogous to, in my thinking, is you have a wealthy family in Florence in the 14th century, and they have their ugly children painted by these great masters. Yeah. Mm-hmm. At the time, they weren't great masters; they were just painters who needed money, and there was a certain amount of patronage. So we now have a technical version of that, where a wealthy dad or mom can pay whatever you want to call these people to realize their kid's dream in some way. Mm-hmm. And it's not a portrait anymore; it's whatever it is, a video or
it's interesting,
a song.
I mean, and as with any art, the thing that'll give it longevity, a little bit different in your analogy because it's just stuck there.
Well, did you not study your analogy in school when you were young? Anyway, sorry, my analogy.
I just want to say welcome back, Rand. This is the insights we lack when you're away.
That's right.
Comparing it to
and I should also welcome him back. And though I did want to also say, I was going to say this for the introduction, but we're already past it. Great job last week, Anthony. I thought it was a really good podcast, and I really enjoyed it.
Would we like to take a minute for you to pat each other?
Can we have like a group hug or something?
I think we should really hug this out. Thank you.
If you guys want to just reach across.
You were also fantastic.
Well, thanks.
And pat each other.
But it is great to have Randall back.
That's one of the topics I wanted to bring up today. And I think,
having you back.
Are we done with Rebecca?
I think we're done with Rebecca. I'm sure we could talk a lot more about her, but good luck, Rebecca. I hope you can keep it up.
Let me throw out if someone's at home and they want to do that, go ahead, see what happens, see if you can hook into that.
Absolutely,
all the tools are there.
Yeah.
My transition is, you mentioned I was away. I was in Florida, and it's as if I know who that rapper is. While I was down there, I was staying in a place that had non-existent or shockingly poor Wi-Fi. And what I wanted to talk about today is not being connected.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Do you know what that feels like?
I was just having watched the podcast where you phoned in, and it went surprisingly well up until the point where you
really
disconnected.
Yeah. Really? Well, what I wanted to mention was that, people would imagine there's Lob down there in this place, staying in a place with crappy Wi-Fi. I went up to the front and I said, hey, what's the Wi-Fi story? And she said, it's $40 for the week. And I said, oh, great. Is it pretty fast? And she said, no, it's terrible. Don't get it. It's a waste of money.
Oh, really? She was upfront about it. That's
right.
Good.
So I said, okay, thanks. She said, you can come down to this area and use the Wi-Fi down here for free. And it's terrible too.
Right.
Or you can go wherever. And so
now was this a hotel you were staying at or a condo?
It's like one of these holiday resort places.
Oh, really? Because
my buddy's hooked into one of these, and he pulls my wife in every time. She's just like a little smallmouth bass swimming along, and then there's this bright flashing lure. She's I'm hungry. Yeah. She bites it, and next thing you know, we're down at Suntana or whatever it's called.
In my limited travels, I've come up with an interesting theorem, and that is the crappier the hotel, the cheaper and better the internet. the more expensive the hotel.
Absolutely true.
I should say, sorry, the cheaper and better the internet, the more expensive the hotel. You pay for it and it's terrible.
You go, now to be fair, because of whatever the system or deal is that he does, and you guys probably know way more about these timeshare things, and I don't know anything about it. I'm not a part of it. He is, and then we ride in on his whatever, so you don't end up paying that much. But as you leave the beautiful grounds of this place and drive to wherever you're going, you go past a hotel called Champions World, which looks like the kind
a big
of
atlas out front or something?
No, but what it should have is just like, famous serial killers who have stayed there and which rooms they killed somebody in, because that's what it looks like.
Right.
And it has free Wi-Fi, and it's the Wi-Fi that's so strong as you don't have to have your device plugged in to feel it as you drive past. It's like
your hair's raised up.
You get Wi-Fi. And the frustration that I was feeling and what I wanted to get at was I realize I'm at this point where I assume total connectivity whenever and wherever I am. I assume it, and I live my life as though I'm going to have it. Right. And when I don't have it, it's not just an inconvenience. It's not just an addiction. It's a tool that you would use like a fork or a knife or your left hand. And so I thought, I'm going to have have an itch over this. And then I noticed that my wife had it and my kids had it.
Interesting.
Because let's say there's a simple thing that you're going to do. You want to go to any one of the attractions, and there was a place called Disney Downtown or Downtown Disney, and I was going to meet a friend there for supper. And he says, where do you want to meet? And he's calling me. And we're calling each other on cell phones and texting back and forth. And we don't have a system in place to do that successfully when you're down there, because I didn't get a Rogers pack or whatever it is. So we're trying to get communicating back and forth. And at first it was email, but email's spotty. So now we're texting, and texting was spotty down there for whatever reason. And he says, where do you want to go? So I go online. No, I can't get online. So I have to go talk to someone, and I have to get a map of the thing. I get a map of the thing, and I say, well, I don't have any reviews. So how do you find out reviews? I said to the woman who's down at this place, do you know which places are good or which are good for kids? You got, there's a big group. And there's just no way to replace that. That we are so accustomed to having it. And when we were in LA using Yelp, right, or wherever you are, you assume that you can find out anything that you need to find out through the wisdom of the crowd, or however you want to call it, as well as the real reviews, TripAdvisor, and all these things that exist that make it so that you can function in a way that makes the non-technical things you're going to do so much more efficient and so much better. I never expected that everyone else in my family would be having the same problem.
That's the interesting part. I mean, I could totally see you being frustrated with it, but the fact that your family, who aren't thinking about it, they aren't dwelling on technology. It's just the fact that they've become accustomed to it.
Did not plan it in advance. So my daughter was frustrated because she wasn't able to Facebook her friends. An enormous amount of her communication is either Facebook or texting. And of course, she's not texting her friends down there. And my son, knew that his cousin was staying at our place, and he couldn't communicate with him. And just a simple thing is, how did you like the new maps for Black Ops? There were new maps.
The map app came out. Yep.
There was a discussion about that.
First Strike.
And my wife wanted to put photos up. Like, she wants to take a picture of this beautiful environment and show people. And just really simple ways that we just do without thinking. We implement this technology to allow us to greater enjoy or greater use the things that we're doing. How embarrassing is that?
Well, it's very.
I just want to say what I find interesting about this issue is that the hotels haven't quite caught on to the fact, like, the better your Wi-Fi works, the more opportunities that people have to communicate with them within your hotel and to talk about how awesome it is.
Absolutely.
Like, you're just shooting yourself in the foot by most of them. The bigger branches, the bigger brands outsource all of their Wi-Fi to a company, and it's always terrible.
Well, here's what was happening at this place. I'm guessing, and you can back me up on this. They're having open Wi-Fi at one spot, and then you have a bunch of people hidden running on the IP addresses, and then they fill them all up. right? They don't close them, so they have to renew the IP addresses at the end of the day.
After like an hour, you have to relog in,
and they're not doing that.
And that's what
They're not
made sense
resetting.
even in our little Skype experiment. It was like good and strong, and then slowly it was
Right.
almost like it was there was a leak
Right.
in the Wi-Fi. Right.
That's kind of what was happening. And this situation, looking at it from my perspective, everyone's going to say, well, you're just mad because you aren't connected and you're addicted and you want your podcast or whatever. All true.
None of us are saying that.
But you get it.
Yeah.
But someone could say that. But then you're down there, and I saw people in MapQuest, like sitting in the open Wi-Fi area, trying to figure out how to get to, whatever.
Right.
And then I saw, 5 people uploading pictures to Facebook. And you're right. As a business tool, allowing someone open Wi-Fi is a good idea, but making sure that Wi-Fi is good is a better idea.
Yeah, that's going to become more and more important to people traveling.
What I found very interesting, speaking of people traveling, is like the lovely Susan was in Cuba last week, and I was texting her, and I thought, she'll come back and I'll leave her like a little, it's like leaving roses, except of course I don't do that. I leave her a little text. I thought when she got back in the country, she gets some text saying like, how are you, honey? Hope you're enjoying your trip.
Right.
She was in Cuba on the beach getting these texts, texting me back, and I'm like, because I'm
Surprise
I start getting texts back. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Just
And you're saying things like, I can't wait to see you tonight.
I can't wait to.
Let's not do that. Yeah. Let's not talk close to the mic like that. That's really stressful for me. Here's another frustration that's linked with all this, and I don't want to slam Rogers because everybody does, but the texting 75 cents a text from the U.S. unless you buy the package, that's crazy. $1.45 a minute for a phone. A typical phone unless you buy a package, and then there was another % for kilobytes used of data unless you buy a data package.
Yeah,
crazy
highway robbery.
It is, and it's also pure add-on, right?
Yeah,
like what's happening there. I'm sorry to be jumping around so much, everybody. What's happening there is profit taking, which is maybe understandable, but also I think what it does is it pinches some of your clientele in a way that does not help. If I had a package that was more open and it gave me more minutes, I would have been using it like a mofo down there. I would have been all over it. All they need to do is give me value for the money that I spend.
Right.
And then all of a sudden I'm using it more, I'm pushing the service more, I'm recommending it more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're missing that niche.
I think what's again, this isn't something I've really heard so much with the rise of the smartphone, but I know when we were all using feature phones, and by feature phones I mean basically a non-smartphone.
Right.
If you went to the States, you just basically walk into a mall and buy like a prepaid
burner.
phone.
Sure. That's what everybody was doing.
Spend $40 and then you don't have all these hassles, and you don't this ridiculous expensive.
That's what you said is just what I was going to say. That's what Rogers is losing. I saw some people from. I went into I don't know if you know this French mall that's down there, Target.
Oh, the Target, oui.
Target. I was in Super Target.
Super Target.
I went into Super Target because what I have to get there, of course, I have to get charger that was lost. So I get the charger. While I am there in this tech place, in come a group, all buy burners, all buy cards, go over and walk out. And I thought, I should buy a burner. And then I thought, no, I shouldn't buy a burner. I should have an iPhone service that works here that doesn't cost.
Yeah. Why would I need to buy a second phone? It makes no sense.
Frustrating.
Yeah,
right?
I understand.
Plus, that burner isn't going to have the features you want anyway.
You want internet.
Can't get your FB on.
Here's what's crazy.
You don't want to make phone calls.
Here's how the internet is being used by people on holidays. And by the way, extensively is being used by people on holidays. Making their lives better, making their day go better. Simple things.
Yeah.
What snacks can I take into Discovery Cove or whatever? Oh, you find out, snacks are not needed. Snacks are included, whatever. All this kind of information that is not anything to do with technology, but the tech is just a rider on top that makes everything easier.
Yeah.
The frustration level of not having access to this once you're used to it in the rest of your life is beyond ridiculous. Like you look at you and we talked about this in the last podcast, the one that we just had, with your health issue that you had with your neck, and you researched like crazy.
Yeah.
And yes, you can do that to a default and hurt yourself. and doctors would say, get off that, don't do it. But you get comfort, or you get an understanding that you didn't have before.
That's right. And you know things before the doctor tells you, and you have an understanding.
Or at least context.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is what people who say that I'm addicted or you're addicted, that's what they're not catching. That's what they're forgetting.
If I'm going to Miami, I want to go to like some of the greatest restaurants. And the people who know what the greatest restaurants are Miami residents.
Yeah,
exactly.
That will be talking about it online.
Yeah.
So that's what I get when I go on trips, which is very rarely because I like to stay in a basement. But when I get there, I'm like,
we've all been there.
I feel like I'm only getting 60% of the experience because the stuff that the locals know is all the really great, cool things.
That's right.
Yeah.
Without being connected plugged into their social system using internet, I have no idea.
Well, before the internet, I would just rent a scooter.
Yeah, you did rent a scooter and you'd travel around with
find
the
scooter. Locals and chat it up.
In Orlando, that scooter wouldn't help you out very much.
Wouldn't have helped you out at all.
Just a quick comment on one of the programs that allows you to do that. I mentioned Yelp and Travel Advisor, or what was it called? TripAdvisor. What Yelp is, for those that don't know, it's a service it's an app you have on your iPhone. I assume it's on Android or whatever as well. You can access other people's reviews and comments that they've made about restaurants or bars or museums or whatever, I assume. I only use it for restaurants, and you can read their reviews and you can see them hooked up with your GPS, like what's close to here. It's unbelievable how good that is and how useful and how powerful it is. When we were in LA tracking taco trucks, do you remember how I found that one? Mm-hmm. I just banged on where I am now and I put in taco truck and it said, this one travels. And then someone had put down, right now it's at...
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's one that was supposed to be awesome. And it serviced guys who got off work, and then it serviced people who came out of clubs and
okay,
so
on. It go from like office
it goes from
buildings
place to
clubs,
place.
So, yeah.
And we caught it at a little depot, clearly, where a bunch of guys just got off work.
Yeah.
And we've told this story as part of a longer thing about LA, but just that idea that Yelp was able to allow us in real time to track that place down, or that taco truck down, and get this really this awesome bunch of tacos. But let's take it out of tacos, put it in terms of anything. Mm-hmm. Somebody might be saying this, I'm in this hospital and the waiting room is low, there's you know what I mean, like you could use it in a number of different ways. That real-time updating about an environment that could be very useful.
Well, I had this very conversation with someone yesterday. It was like, it's Saturday, what are we going to do? Mm-hmm. I'm like, it'd be really awesome if I could just pull up a map of where I am and have just all of the events and attractions around me, surrounding me in a radius where I can just kind of go, okay,
right.
Here's
like a Foursquare type of thing.
Yeah, here's what I can go do right now.
Yeah. I would look at it and take it even further. Let's say, and this is Merry Christmas, Walt Disney. Mm-hmm. Right now, I should be able to get a subscription to know how long the ride lineups are on different rides.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so, I find out, and I didn't go to Disney this time, but my buddy did, and he said there was a 2-hour wait on that Space Mountain. Mm-hmm. Well, I should be able to know that. I should be able to ping a site, or ping's the wrong word, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, click on, Yeah,
find out, subscribe to Twitter or something and get that information and then be able to track it down. I'm having a little headset issue. I should be able to track it down and know that and say, oh, well, if everybody's at Space Mountain, what's happening over at Pirates of the Caribbean, and go over to that. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I was frustrated for a number of reasons. That was one of the reasons. There were other reasons, again, to do with simple things like people that you might want to communicate with who live somewhere else, and how we get so used to being able to talk to anybody anywhere.
Yeah.
Without thinking about where we are and what it means. Like when I was Skyping Mark, and when I lived in Germany and Mark was back here, it was like I wasn't anywhere.
Yeah.
We Skype quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's just one of these things that
it's something we've definitely become very, very dependent on. As you're telling your story about the internet, the analogy is coming to me of like it's almost like water, like it's becoming like a commodity. And what made me think of that was us in LA driving around neighborhoods trying to find Wi-Fi. It was that important to us. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, so something like water. Well, it's like you're in a desert and you got to find water, you're going to search to the nth degree to find it.
Of course, you look for Starbucks, and that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
those clusters.
Yeah. And that's probably part of their success.
Well, I'll tell you what. Here's what happens. I go to Starbucks. I spend $10.
Yeah.
My
Right.
wife would say, "Oh, we can't just leech their Wi-Fi." So we buy stuff, and they
Sure.
get another $10.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I think in Canada, the model for that is a little bit like coffee cultures, because we end up driving around. I'm not plugging for them, but we drive because I mean, there's a number of people I know in town that go there and do work at night because they have
Right.
Wi-Fi that
Absolutely.
they get out of their homes and they get a little.
Yeah. I
into
go
that
work there
state.
sometimes.
So
Yeah.
Well, it's not a frivolous thing anymore. It's not a value add that can be ignored. It's a big value add.
for those of certainly for those of you who are running hotels and B&Bs and resorts,
Yeah.
like that is very, very important. It's only going to get more important.
Yeah.
For sure.
Agreed.
Don't skimp on that.
Please don't,
Please don't.
or we won't come.
And I think we should go to the third thing that you mentioned is why are people paying more for iPad 2? You wanted to address
Oh yeah,
that.
I thought that was just interesting because of the way Apple and a lot of companies release products. They have a North American release, they have a European release, they have an Asian release. Is what's happening? They're finding is they'll just have a group of people waiting out in front of an Apple store. That will be basically they'll have a handler that will round them all up and kind of here, go wait here. Here's some cash. Go buy 2 iPads. Bring them to me. I'm going to put them in a box, ship them to Hong Kong because I
Right.
can get 3 times.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I just thought that was really interesting.
I mean, there was a lady in New York City. Was it New York City? Who was in the front of the line.
Yeah,
who sold her
900
spot for $900.
Yeah.
Her spot. Like someone bought her spot.
Really?
And still had to go in and buy an iPad
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I calculated it out because she was waiting for 40 hours, so
Right.
she ended up making about $23 an hour,
Not bad.
which is
Wow.
boring, but
Well, I popped in, of course, down there. There's an Apple store near the place where we were. And I popped in and I just wanted to find out some things about how it was moving. And I said to the genius behind the counter, and they're called geniuses. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
they're geniuses.
so I couldn't help
I
myself.
said to him, how are they selling? And he said, of course, we're sold out. And every day we get a shipment at 9. We never know what's in the shipment.
Right.
So they don't know how many they get. They don't know exactly what's going to be in the box, which is
Yeah.
ridiculous.
It's
Got to be fake. It's got to be massaged, right? And I don't mean that he's faking it. I mean, whoever's shipping is specifically not telling them information for a reason.
to save them. in
Well,
some
to save
way,
them
for
face, so
sure.
they can't say to somebody, "We're
Right.
going to get 23 tomorrow if you show
Right.
up." And whatever.
This is reminds me of this is a similar thing that goes on with Walmart as well. On
Oh, really?
a less exclusive scale for sure, but yeah, I remember when like the Connects was out, the guy was like, come if you're back here right at 10, the truck gets here and I can look for
Right.
you. So
Wow. Well, this dude said that every day there are at least 100 people lined up at the Apple store.
crazy.
The day that I was there, they got 9. And
Wow.
they sold 9.
Yeah, and then
And
sorry,
that was it, everybody. See you
It's
later.
no different though than when the iPhone came out.
Right.
It happens every single time. And I guess the question maybe you're asking is this manufactured? Is this manufactured demand?
Well, I'm sure they can make only so many. They can only torture so many Chinese prisoners so quickly.
Right. And I'm sure I hope.
Foxconn employees chained to desks.
Yeah.
I mean, we laugh about it. If it's true, it's horrifying. But we hope it's not really like they say.
And we do hope that they have saved some back for next Friday for Canada and the rest of the world.
I think
They're-
for new hardware releases, you don't really want to ramp up 2 million units in case there's an issue with the
Yeah,
run.
For
So,
sure, that's
yeah.
part of it. Is
Yeah.
they're phasing it because of smart shipping and smart use. I mean, they can iterate on whatever the problem is.
Yeah.
But to me, there's another issue. It's that they always do a good job at this. Is getting that ink right. They get a story out.
Oh
of it.
yeah. If you don't have a bunch of bodies in front of stores, you're not really quite. I mean, exclusivity is one of those cornerstones of marketing.
Yeah.
So I think they definitely are playing into that.
For sure. Well, so they had some there as customer fun, and my son picked one up and was messing around with it. It is much thinner. I mean, we already know about it, but here's what blew my mind. He picked it up. He went to GarageBand, and it is unreal. It is selling iPads.
for sure.
There was a guy standing behind my son, and he looked at it, and my son was playing the piano, and then he was playing the guitar, and then he was playing the drums. And the guy, like, his face just lit up, and he said, I'm buying an iPad too. And I turned and I looked at the guy, and he was maybe my age, maybe a little bit older. And I said, "Do you have any other Apple products?" And he said, "No, I just came in. There's a million people in the store. It's always jammed."
Yeah, to see what the story
is. He just popped in. I said, "Do you know anything about Apple?" He goes, Yeah. He knows about Apple. He doesn't have too many computer devices at home, he said, but he wanted to see what all the fuss was. And he was a tourist as well. So he was out. His classic story, the same thing happening to me. His wife and his daughter are shopping, and he's walking around. And the concept of the iPad was not in question to him. Like at no point was it, what is it? Or, you know what I mean? Like there was no, it wasn't that. It was just seeing the musical part of it.
Yeah. Here's what I can do.
Yeah.
And that's what I think.
Yeah.
On the PC side, that very much falls apart. It's like,
there's not, they need more of that.
Yeah. What can I do with this? And
right now,
crappy,
right here.
Yeah. Crappy Microsoft ads was like, to the cloud.
Right.
Yeah. Nobody cares.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Nobody cares about that.
As awesome as that is, that new service. But
you have to show it right there, in the shop.
Yeah.
So the kid playing the drums, it looks awesome. And it is awesome. And that's the thing. And by the way, it edits video very quickly. We messed around with iMovie on it. Those programs are going to sell that.
Oh, they will.
Yeah.
And I've seen some benchmarks where editing on the iPad is faster in iMovie on the iPad than even on a MacBook Pro, apparently.
That's nuts.
And that's nuts. And the thing is, it's putting it into the hands of people that would never even want to touch any kind of video editing software or anything. I mean,
right.
That's where...
And at the price.
And at the price,
Well, it was GarageBand that lured me into Apple in the first place.
Right.
In the first place.
What happened was I would have been an iPod owner and stopped there. And in fact, he was there before I really even knew him. There was a thing that was going on at the Clinton High School. It was called Imago, and it was a film festival for kids. And I don't know, was that around when you were there?
I missed out on that one.
Okay. So the maven of this, the teacher who runs it, is a guy named Stephen Oliver, and he has been a Mac guy for a long time. And he had a bunch of whatever they were at the time. I don't know which Mac it was, but he would have a few of these rigs in there, and people would be cutting and putting together these student films. Well, I was at the time doing the documentary sort of behind the scenes for the kids. So I would take a certain number of the kids, and then I would have to cut the documentary that these kids were making. They're shooting based on plans that we had laid out.
Right.
So I'm just cutting it on iMovie. And I thought iMovie was fine, and I think I did Final Cut as well at different times. Anyway, I was cutting away, and it was fun, and it was easy, and I thought, yeah, this is really good, but it wasn't anything that I didn't think would be in Sony or Pinnacle,
right,
the studio programs. But then when it came time to do sound, some kid is there, grade 12 kid is beside me and says, well, just open up GarageBand. And I couldn't believe it. Like, I can't explain to you how, I just realized I have to get a Mac.
Right.
I had never imagined it could be in the hands of just a guy to take those clips. And that's what happened on this guy when he saw the iPad. He thought, that's a drum kit.
Yeah.
Like,
I can make music.
Yeah. And just, I can tell you right now that it's not, that's not the only time that's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting side to that story is like, I remember the first time I opened Cubase.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my goodness, I can make an orchestra. And the second thing that happened was, what on earth? How do I use this? There's
so hard.
100 million permutations and buttons.
Well, see, Mark knows that software backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
And so GarageBand would be handicapped for him.
It's my last resort kind of thing. But at the same time, I do find myself using GarageBand for really fast little things. Because like just like a simple thing like normalizing a podcast or something.
Mm-hmm. Right.
If I'm doing it myself in Cubase, which is what we're using here to record, I'll do it my way. But sometimes I'll get things sent to me from another podcast that the person hasn't normalized or anything.
Right.
And I'll just run it through GarageBand.
It's just,
sounds great.
It's one of these things that can't be underestimated, or it can't be under-discussed how important it is, or how crucial it is.
Yeah.
And Windows just doesn't have that one. Whatever it is, they don't have that part of the market. Isn't there?
What? I'm sure they have tools like that. The problem is they haven't been marketed properly, because I think...
I sure don't know about it. I wish I'd had it, because I'm teaching kids, and they say, oh, I have a PC at home. Is there a GarageBand for PC? And I don't know.
I remember a program called Band in a Box. It's probably still out there. I don't know who made it.
Does it work as well?
No.
Or? There was one called Fruity Loops. Do you remember that one?
Well, that's a totally different animal. Yeah, Fruity Loops is great, but it's not GarageBand. Like, it's for creation of music.
Again,
like it's
you need
more,
that middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this drives into a lot of things that's going on in software development. It's funny because I had a conversation with somebody I was talking about the model that I'm looking to approach, which is basically...
What's her name? No.
Sorry, the software construction.
Ivanka.
Yeah, Ivanka. She tells me how to make software, and it's like we're looking for you want to release software with the minimum of features that is easy to use. You don't want to the model of like taking a program and then piling on features and making that a competitive advantage is gone.
Right. Let's call that problem Microsoft Word.
Yeah,
precisely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Would you like me to
problem.
format this for you? Actually, don't ask. Just completely ruin my
or
document.
Excel.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's still always going to be a place for power tools like that. But I think the other reason too you want to be thinking that way as a developer, not only for the ease of use for a user experience, but also you're being pushed on all sides to sell that product for a cheaper and cheaper dollar. Right. So you're going to want to create the bare bones basic what most people are going to use, and then have your add-ons, and that kind of business model I think is actually really, really good because it gets people addicted to your product at a low rate. Like if you go to the app store, like on the computer now with Macintosh, there's like $5 programs. You go, I'm going to try that. It's only $5.
Well, the idea of games and other, let's call them enterprise or business software products being modular, I think is good. So if you want to, I'm a screenwriter, and I use a program called Final Draft. And it's a very specific piece of software for a very specific use. And some people would say, oh, you can do that in Microsoft Word with templates. And there are so many elements and layers and features and things you have to fiddle with. Yeah. This idea of modular software that this does this one thing. You can add to it with this new thing. And this like $8 or $9 or $20 or whatever dollars.
Yeah, it's called, I think, apropos term for all of this is called fragmentation. Is the market is fragmenting into very specific niches, where as a screenwriter you want to use a word recording program or processor that is made specifically
it's just a generator,
for screenwriters.
Right? It just generates screenplays.
Yeah, it generates screenplays, and that's pretty good. What I like about it too is you don't even have to put in names.
Do you get checkboxes like robot cowboy, hooker with heart of gold?
Yeah. And by coincidence, that is the name of my next project. Robot cowboy, hooker with a heart of gold.
Hooker with a heart of gold.
I can't wait to see it.
It's really good.
I'm already in line.
Me too.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait to see it come out of that final draft. No, if only it would do that, it would save me hundreds of hours of mind-bending frustration. What I like in terms of this modular idea, or this, I don't want to say, you said fragmentation. I like that word, but the way I would describe it is almost like pack use. Like you can get a pack of software, and they might have slightly different purposes, but they belong to the same pack.
Right.
You know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I see. I think it's to use the Microsoft Word analogy. So basically you would buy like just the standard I type words that appear on a screen I can save to a file. Then you might buy another pack of, say, perhaps templates for it.
Right.
Or you might buy a pack for like, okay, now I can import from Excel or
so,
data tools, and you build
and I might end up
software.
spending, price plus 2 or whatever.
Yeah, like $15 instead of 10 or whatever. Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think it's a good idea. So I buy root word, and then I'm a teacher and I have to do very specific things. Yeah. And for another $6,
tools,
I get these educational tools, and they're very specific and designed just for my needs.
Very smart.
I like that idea.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's exactly where it's going. It's too bad we weren't just thinking about it and coming up with it right now. But I think that
it's already happening.
I think it's happening. Like that is what's happening.
Is it not? I mean, it's something that's so commonly done in gaming. Like we talked about the maps for Black Ops or whatever. This idea of value adds, and you can pay extra and make your own outfits or whatever. I don't know.
Well, this is the argument I was having. Not the argument, but and it's no secret I'm trying to start up a game studio, and part of starting up a game studio requires money. I know, and it's so difficult.
That's the worst part.
I know. But I was saying is like the point, I think one of the models for gaming is doing like what's called like a minimum viable product, where you have like, in the case of Black Ops, you have like a couple maps, you have a couple weapons, you have the gameplay down, and you release it. And if people like it,
yes,
now we can build upon that experience. And I'm not spending, 20 in the case of AAA games, because it's such a hit-driven business. Is I'm not risking $20 million to see if people are actually going to play this. I'm risking a much lower amount, and then I'm iterating on that experience depending on the people playing it.
Yeah, so you can have all of these foundations laid, and then you see what becomes popular, and that's where you build your modules.
Right.
I also find it interesting as you're talking about this, that it kind of comes full circle to why this is happening and why we can do it this way and why businesses are doing this way, is what we started this podcast talking about, the availability of connectivity to the internet. Without that,
absolutely.
I mean, that's why we got big boxes with 10 discs,
because there was no other
because
way.
that was more efficient to send you everything. Because otherwise they're going to have to ship you another box.
Yeah, you're so right.
Box.
Ubiquitous internet and ubiquitous connectivity and ubiquitous computing.
Yeah.
That changes everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the solution for the piracy problem as well, is A, get the price low enough that it's more inconvenient to pirate than actually pay for it.
Totally.
And B, you can run your application directly from a server. You don't even have to load it on your PC or your smartphone or your iPad. And that is a layer of protection in that you can't steal it then.
I agree 100% with that. I know some people that pirate software and different things. And in talking to them, that's a common thing that keeps coming up.
What is that?
It's that, you know what, I'm just going to buy it because it's the barrier to entry, like it's so cheap. I'm just going to buy it.
Well, this is what happened to me with Final Draft. I could have downloaded the illegal version of Final Draft if I was that kind of a guy. But I bought it, or at whatever point I bought it. I can't remember what year it was, and I had an old box. And then when I was down in LA, I went into the store called the Writer's Store, and just on a whim, I said, I got this old version of Final Draft. What's it going to cost me to get up to the new version? And he said, well, let's see if your serial number is there. And I was in the computer as a serial number, $80, and I was back up. Yeah. And I was back on with everything. And that idea of keeping me as a client that whole time, from the time I bought it originally, I can't tell you how many years that was, but I mean, I think I was using 6.0 and then I bought 8.0, and whoever knows how many points were in between that. But that idea of staying, like say I sell you the core thing, the minimum viable product, and then it's cheap enough that you might see the value in the little $5, $6, $8, $10, $20, $30, $40 ranges as you go through. And the same, you look at a piece of software like Final Cut, is very expensive. Yeah. It is one of the most pirated pieces of software. Sure. If they could release that in some way, maybe they would make more money out of those people.
But I bet that's exactly what's going to happen. I'm looking forward to the next version of Final Cut for a number of reasons. It needs some upgrade. I'm finding myself...
Oh, really?
Going more and more to other products. But besides that, we're seeing a lot of pro apps show up on the App Store, and they're showing up on the App Store significantly cheaper. Right. Something like Aperture, and I'm just going to speak off the top of my head here, that you'd pay maybe $400 for at the Mac Store in a box, you can get for $80 on the App Store.
Are those the real numbers, or you're just saying that?
It's probably close, because I had this very same conversation.
It's close. They are not the real numbers. Don't go out and say, hey, you said it was $80, but it's that kind of a gap in price. And I think Final Cut, I hope, will be on the App Store when the new version comes out, and it'll be significantly cheaper.
Well, it's ridiculously expensive.
Yeah,
I guess they went that way with Photoshop. They put out Elements, and that was how many years ago?
I mean, there's Final Cut Express and all that, but still, from a professional standpoint, you do need the majority of those tools.
I think we're seeing that happen with movies as well, right? The exact same system. I don't know how much is a movie at iTunes. I don't watch movies very often, but
depends.
$3.99, $5.99
for rental. Yeah,
right. And that idea for software maybe comes up through that, seeing that model work so well for movies and music and so on. Hey, yesterday when I was in the airport, Bon Jovi was shown on the screen, and I didn't hear the article, but I could see the
scroll or whatever.
Yeah, the text. It said that Bon Jovi accused iTunes of killing the music industry.
Oh, really?
Did you guys see anything about that?
No, I didn't actually.
That is so far too late to accuse iTunes of killing
it just seems so weird.
Actually, no. The record industry killed the record industry.
Yeah, and I would venture to say, are they really dead? I mean, aren't they not making as much, if not more money as ever?
I don't know.
I mean,
some aren't, obviously.
Yeah, some aren't, obviously. But wake up, people. Look, hey, Rebecca Black. There's the new music industry.
Oh my God, we've gone full circle.
Full circle.
We probably should quit. What time is it?
Oh, we're on to 50 minutes here.
Oh, we're
doing pretty
That's
good.
too nice.
That's too perfect.
Too good. I was going to bring up the next topic of like these robot pants that I was working on. But
Well, it sounds like you're
bring that
going
up
for next week.
Next time we'll talk
Next
about my
week.
robot pants.
But yeah, it was a good discussion. As far as the way it's going with software, and again, for developers out there, it should be encouraging. It's exciting times to be alive in the tech industry.
The hustler always has to put that optimistic capper on everything. It's
true,
funny.
It's always a good time to be alive when Mark's around.
You know what? I don't think there's a bad time to be alive. Like
There you go. There you go.
Whenever you're alive, that's the good
That's
time to
pretty
be
good.
alive.
It's as
Pretty
good as
good.
you're going to get. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
You might as well make
I
the
guess
best
if
of
you
it.
were, if you were suffering, like if you had been gut shot and you're laying there bleeding out and you can't do anything about it,
Yeah.
and you're going to die, it's a bad time to be alive. Probably.
Right. That stands true regardless of technology. But
I'm thinking of a short film where that's happening, and then Mark Hussey walks by. And what happens? I think that's...
Well, maybe he gives
Plug that into your script.
He gives that guy a popsicle, and that guy's like,
well, that's a whole other story. I
Yeah.
have actually I do have a story that's similar to that, but we'll save that for another podcast.
ladies and gentlemen, I look at the camera with confusion.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know if I like the lighting.
Well, we have some work to do here at the Faux Pop Studios. We're aware of that,
But there's a real nice shot right now of you in your old days.
Yeah.
What a majestic head of hair.
oh, it's awesome. And that is actually, if you can see it, that is the actual guitar that's in the actual photograph.
Oh, the little piece of guitar. If you look in the corner of Rand's frame there. Yeah.
If I
See
bring
that?
in,
Let me just show
Rand's-
that, folks.
Rand's frame here. I'm sure this is very, very interesting.
It's inside baseball.
Inside baseball, there's a story behind all of that. Do your research, kids.
Do your research. Google that up.
Google that.
All right. Anyway, I think we're done. We've done everything we can do. We've given so much to you, and we've asked for nothing in return but love and adulation.
And please do, in return, I'll ask for a little bit more.
Oh,
Please feel free to give us a comment if you have any questions or thoughts. And another thing I think we'd like to try to do on this podcast
just get
is
people to review it on iTunes.
yeah, please give us reviews on iTunes, all that kind of stuff.
That's what they say in every podcast.
But further than that, there may be somebody out there that we maybe want to do a Skype interview with, or we want to get you in on for a 10-minute segment or something like that on this podcast. Some of you tech guys in our area, we'd love to talk to you and get your insight and thoughts on.
And you can tell us how dumb we are, how little we know.
Yeah.
That would
If
be
you're
good.
smart,
Yeah,
too
we
smart,
welcome
then,
your derision.
please
Yeah.
don't call in. Anyway,
That'd be fine. Anyway, have a good week, and we'll catch you next time.
Take care, folks.
What do you have to do?
I was
one,
going to
too?
say later, but I always say later, so I'll just say goodbye. Till next time.
Till next time.
Okay.